Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance. In this resistance video, sponsored by contribution from Treasure Travel, and here's our story: Limbo. This is part 2 to yesterday's letter, Fool Me Once, Shame on You. The author, Annie Lamott, was once asked what was the catalyst for her finally deciding to deal with her alcoholism. She replied, and I quote, "By the end, I was deteriorating faster than I could lower my standards for myself." At the pivotal point in my life when I decided to go no contact with my two narcissist parents, I had fallen in the same state as Annie. A relationship with a narcissist requires deterioration of you and the co-requisite requirement for you to constantly lower your standards for yourself. The narcissist shaming and degrading of you is actually the basis of the relationship. Narcissists can't have a mutually respectful, equal, and emotionally mature relationship with anybody, especially not their adult children. Another quote comes to mind from the song Limbo Rock, "How low can you go?" Or more pertinent when discussing the relationship with your narcissistic parent, I want you to ask yourself, how low are you willing to go? For many of us, it was as low as it takes to make them stop. And when you realize is that you can't go low enough for the narcissist. There is no floor for you to get down. It's not low enough. That's the problem. You can't go low enough for the narcissist. You can't. It's impossible. It's an impossibility. So the question always comes is, how low am I willing to go? And we all reach our floor. The narcissist doesn't have one. So it's up to us to determine how much is enough. I hope that sharing my stories of how I went how low I went will spare others from staying as long as I did in a toxic relationship. In my letter to you yesterday, your video titled "You Didn't Need to Bring the Scars of Abuse to the Surface," I tried to explain my thoughts and psychological state at the pivotal moment in my life when I finally made the decision to end my relationship with my parents. In a nutshell, I had 3 fundamental revelations that compelled me to go no contact. I finally understood how sick it was that my own parents treated me worse than anyone ever has. I understood that I deserved to be treated better, and I understood that I was enabling their abuse by choosing to stay in the relationship. When the full comprehension of these 3 fundamental truths finally congealed in my head, it was actually impossible for me to imagine continuing the relationship with them. I still had fear, obligation, and guilt, but the fog at that point was overshadowed by my clear disgust for them and disappointment with myself for dropping my standards for me to such great depth. In that video, I referenced my last visit to my parents' house with my son, who was 16 at the time, in 2012. For anyone who is interested in the specific details of that horrible trip, they can refer to the video titled "You're Not Allowed to Be Right with the Narcissist." Right. You're not allowed to be right. I remember that video. And there is no floor. There is no low enough with the narcissist. It just shows you what your status always is. It's as low as it possibly can get. And the problem is there's no bottom. There's no bottom for you in the narc's eyes. The only bottom comes within us, is how much are you willing to take? In the present letter, I will discuss the visit prior to 2012, the 2012 visit in which my parents came to my home in 2007. A bit of background: after I moved away from home at 18, my mom initiated a predictable pattern of behavior that I will call the premeditated rage. Basically, every time I had a visit with my parents, my mom, without fail, would initiate a horrific rage at me that could last anywhere from a few hours to an entire day. Yeah, that's Meat's tactic. In order to visit with them, I had to endure the premeditated rage, in addition to their incessant bitching and moaning. The premeditated rage always involved the prelude of escalating jabs designed to elicit a response, and then the unleashing of the rage after I gave a response. I would always try to ignore my mom to avoid drama as long as possible, but then, if I uttered even the most meek word in self-defense, she would say, "How dare you talk to me with such disrespect? You're overly sensitive, you are crazy." And leading with these generic slurs, she would often launch into an over-the-top rage. Yep. That's how my father operated. He would just set you up for something and you didn't see it coming and the wrong answer, and boom, he was on top of you. The rage was a stream of consciousness barrage of non-related, twisted, and exaggerated examples from the past mixed with very personal and mean insults and lies that she said proved I was selfish and rude. I came to realize that she was loaded and cocked for the premeditated rage before the visit even began, and she would bide her time and stalk and then ambush me when out of earshot of others. In the hopes of sparing myself from the premeditated rage for the 2007 visit, I decided in advance that I would exercise great restraint and not react to all and any of her jabs. Good luck. Keeping your mouth shut is disrespectful too, in case you didn't know that. Staying silent actually turned out to be easier than on previous visits because I had evolved to the extent that I saw most of my mom's insults for the childish and crazy exaggerations that they were, making it much easier to not take them personally. My mom escalated, and I could tell she was very frustrated that I did not react. Later on the phone to my sister, I informed her that the visit had gone well, and I told her of my new strategy of keeping my mouth shut and not reacting to my mom, and how it worked to keep the peace. For how long? Because there's going to be penance for this. My sister, at that time, was completely validating as she knew my mom's methods all too well herself. Relatively speaking, I thought it a pleasant visit because there was no overt drama. I really thought my parents had a good time. Dude, all of that's being used against you to be thrown up at you at a later date. Dude, it's just good. It just makes the rage worse when it happens. Relatively speaking, they acted like they had a good time. However, and here comes the big however, and you guys have all been listening to me long enough to know that here comes the big fucking however in all caps. 8 fucking months later, my parents were on the phone with me, and then out of the clear blue, they ambushed me in a synchronized and orchestrated attack. They had shouted lies and exaggerations of how horribly I had treated them when they visited, and how I had not made them feel welcome, and how we had taken them to a restaurant instead of cooking for them when they first arrived, and how they were not greeted properly upon arrival, not respected enough, etc. This is exactly what my father did when he snapped on me in my own living room, telling me I never had them over for fucking dinner and didn't make a deal, and we disrespected them, and out of no, because I told him I didn't want him there in the house because I was working overnight and I was tired, and it was a orchestrated attack. It always is. And at that moment, I realized I had had enough. And I'm like, bye, get out. Now that I didn't stick to my guns at that point, because I've told this story. This was over the fucking baby furniture. Again, there is no floor for them. There is no, you can't go low enough. It's when we decide how much we can take. That's where the floor is. We decide the floor, not them. There is no bottom. There is no low enough you can go for them. In stunned disbelief, which is the desired emotion they want you to have. Stunned disbelief. In stunned disbelief, I physically had to hold the phone out from my ear because of the shouting and stereo. I was caught off guard and desperately trying to defend myself against their childish and truthful allegations. As soon as the yelling started, he should have just hung it up. Bye. And unplugged the phone. I told him that their allegations were ridiculous and that I thought they had a good visit, and I reminded them that they had said they had a good visit. I was absolutely shocked by their illogical twisting of the facts to rewrite the narrative such that I was the villain and responsible for their bottomless misery and bitterness. It was clear to me that not only did they need to vent their anger on me, but they also needed me to absorb it and feel shame. I frantically fought to deflect the unfair shame that stoked their flaming hatred. After I hung up, I sat on the staircase hyperventilating. How was it possible that they both had such disdain for me? How had they both decided to flip reality 180 degrees in order to view a nice visit with their grandchildren with such disdain and anger? I realized there was no such thing as a good visit for them because they did not want to have a good visit. Exactly. Because they have no floor. There is no bottom for you. There is no low enough you can go and grovel to them. There is none. They did not want pleasant memories of their wonderful grandchildren. They preferred negative fodder to fuel their rants. They would have it, even if it meant rewriting history. There it was. By not giving my mom her spark to ignite her fire on me during the visit, she had boiled over and spent the entire drive back raging and making my dad listen to the two of them, and then making my dad listen, and then the two of them stoked each other for an additional 8 months and then bided their time before ambushing me when they were able to get me alone on the phone. This is exactly what Meat and Drunkie would do. They would just keep torquing each other up, and this is how they set their narrative. This is how they plan their attack. They don't sit there like, how are we going to get her? This is how they do it. They plan their attack by stoking each other's flames. They know what they're doing. I wanted to end the relationship in that moment, but there was still ample fear, obligation, and guilt. I will tell you, though, that any love I thought I had for these two animals dissolved. After that attack, I downregulated my interactions with them and did not visit with them until 2012, even though they live only 2.5 hours away by air. I dutifully continued to call them and continued calling for holidays and birthdays, but my love for them was gone, and I definitely became more gray rock in all interactions. In part 3 of this topic, I want to discuss the psychology of the premeditated rage behavior and maybe some general ideas or guidelines for going no contact with toxic parents. You can't make this shit up. Treasure travel. And all of this and they do this because there is no floor. You can't go low enough for the narcissist. It's up to us to decide when enough is enough. And I still say the reason why you had enough is enough in 2012 is because you had somebody there to witness it. So I hope that helps. Thank you again, Treasure Travel, for another contribution and story. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, or a Facebook live chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been the Narcissistic Resistance. Take